Hello, I have a movie review of Teenage Werewolf, starring Michael Landon, who later did played in Bonanza and the Little House on the Prairie. I saw him on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson, and he mentioned that this was either his first film or an early film, and he seemed to suggest that it wasn't a good movie, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was good acting, and it was interesting to see a very young Michael Landon without the long hair, and you had to look at him a little bit to see that, yep, that's Michael Landon. Let's see. So the film starts off with him in a fight. And the guy told him, says, well, I just tapped you on the shoulder and I said I was sorry. And you flipped out and started fighting. So the police came and let him know they weren't going to keep giving him chances because he was in trouble a number of times before. So an officer suggested he see a professional, I don't know, psychologist or psychiatrist for help. And the guy said, what do you think, I'm some flip? Now, it took me a second to catch on that flip would be a slang for a nut. And so he was reluctant to do that. And I know years later, or I've experienced as a black person when people have suggested to me that I need some help, that black people don't like you know, dealing with, I don't want to say shrinks, but black people don't like dealing with professionals, those kind of professionals. I can't think of, or maybe mental health professionals is a good way to say it. But, and then of course they try to make it sound like it's not so bad or whatever, but there is a stigma attached to that. Now, I guess if you truly do need the help and you can't live without it, but I don't know that it's a panacea. Let's see. So this is not just black people, it's people in general. And of course, now we just recently had uh, another mass shooting in a number of places, including El Paso, Texas, and I forgot the other place. It might have been Dayton, Ohio. And President Trump went over there, and I think he was talking about the mentally ill don't need guns. And one of the commentators said something about, well, if it's a judge's order, which would be different. But I think, it needs to be clarified to what, to at what point that a person gets some counseling or something that they might be considered unfit to have a gun, or for even other things for that matter. Um, they mentioned putting some uh, mental health professionals in some of these high schools. But I guess if there's a way, because when you fill out any kind of form or whatever, and people say that, well, it's private, but you fill out forms and things, and they ask, do you have these issues? And I would imagine if you were on somebody's job and say you needed an excuse, to miss work, and then the excuse comes from a psychiatrist, and then that could give fuel to the people in charge to say that you've got a problem or to treat you differently. So this is something else to deal with. So let's see here, and Landon's character told him, "Say you're not going to put me in a straitjacket," and that can be a little tricky too, because I've talked to people that say that they have the government, or if they're in a group home, that the people control their money. And, the more help that you get, the closer you're getting to maybe someone taking control of your money. If you're getting some sort of disability check or social security disability. Now I'm getting up in age, so pretty soon they won't call it a disability check. They'll call it I guess, an old age check, whatever the correct term for it is. I know one time I tried to cut my toenails and blood got all over the place, and apparently the rental management gave my number to somebody, and they called and they were asking about could I handle my own affairs. And I've heard of people, particularly if they go to these, like a DC, I don't know exactly what they call these places, a nursing home, whatever, that once you get in there, you can't get out. And there was a radio host, the More Better Man, that said that he lied and said he had someone that could take him after he got out. I guess he had some sort of injury or something, but and then they had a blind lady used to call his radio program, and she was not happy there. So one does have to be careful. I get some food from an organization, and they give you a questionnaire. And I think this last time they went and assigned somebody to be, what do they call these people? I don't know, a case manager or social worker, whatever. And I didn't even ask for one. And so let's see here. So his girlfriend asked him about it, and he said, well, basically, did they say you were a flip or a nut, or did they say it like that? And the guy says, well, no, they sprinkled a little sugar on it, which, a lot of times I guess they make it sound like, you know, uh, right. They lessen the blow of it. They say, well, they might say, well, it doesn't mean you're crazy. It might be mentally disturbed. Now, I know I had went to the government because I'm legally blind, and uh, there have been times when they did not send me to get an evaluation, and then other times they'll say that it's part of their program, and everybody gets it. The council said even he had got one, but they do have a great deal of discretion, and if they feel there's a problem when they may not have otherwise, they would maybe exercise that right to do that, because they do have some level of flexibility, but they will try to say that their hands are tied, so to speak. And let's see. So they used to tell me, say, well, maybe you don't belong around people. And if I had a problem with the service or the counselor, then it became my issue. And even if I did have some issues, that wouldn't per se negate whatever concerns I would have with how they're doing things. But then, of course, they can say that. Now, I've been fortunate enough to work with the public. I've had like a friend say, well, when you're a banquet server, you're not supposed to talk to anybody, but that still means that if you're in a suite, you have to try to get along with your coworkers in a fast-paced, high-pressure environment around the public. Um, Whereas if I had to depend strictly on the government, maybe that wouldn't happen. I also got a chance to be what do they call these people? An usher over at RFK Baseball Park in D.C. after the guy saw me passing out free papers and my personality and everything, and the way I interacted with the people was something that he was impressed with. And I heard him say he'd be great over at the ballpark. So when it comes down to the reality of how you function can be different than what a professional might say. So let's see here. Wait a minute. What is this here? Oh, yeah. And then like the Landon character said something about all they do is yakety yak. So I looked up the song Yakety Yak, or to say Yakety Yak Don't Talk Back by the Coasters, who also did Charlie Brown, boom, 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 and a number of other hits. Let's see. So he went to this doctor, and I guess he was a psychiatrist because he eventually injected him with something, and the guy put him under hypnosis earlier in the film. He said that he didn't want to be put under hypnosis. So the doctor put him under hypnosis and gave him an injection, talking about something about getting him back to the primitive state of humankind. It was almost like a Frankenstein or Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type of a situation where you got some ambitious doctor trying to, I guess, experiment or whatever. And of course, the business of pumping children with drugs in the high school, I've heard in the media they say something about Ritalin is also an issue that has been in the public sphere or square, however you want to say it. For that matter, even mandated vaccines, and there have been some reports about some people getting sick because they didn't have vaccines, and then of course there's uh, people that feel that the vaccines are not healthy. Um, so he became a werewolf and was a danger to society. He kept his jacket on, which reminded me of the Incredible Hulk, where he would blow up to be this big monster, but his pants were ripped but were still on, and sometimes he might have a remnants of his shirt. But in this case, the guy just became a werewolf, a teenage werewolf, like the title of the movie was, but he still had his school jacket on. So, without giving anything away or giving very little away, near the end of the film, the police say it's not for man to interfere with God's work. And this is an issue with the stem cells, where they talk about the stem cells. They take some genetic material and try to use it to help with various diseases. There's been talk about cloning, and the question has come up about whether man has gone too far. And this has been an issue in the political arena about what is appropriate uh, science. So this movie was not only well acted, but seemed to bring up a number of issues that are important. And it was a good movie. Michael Landon was on Johnny Carson and kind of laughing it off as like an early, poorly done movie, but I thought it was quite good. And I don't make many of these videos, but sometimes when something moves me, I will, attempt to make a video that people might watch. Um, Now, under the video, there should be like a red rectangle that says subscribe. If you subscribe, you can quickly get to my channel. And then the little bell appears and you click that, and then you get a notice for the few times that I do put up a video. Now, some other, so, or at least on the computer, if you get to my channel and click videos at the top, then all of my videos will be there, and you just scroll down. And one of them was, was unkind words and being put down. Since I was spending all this time talking about these shrinks and whatnot that you might enjoy. Just trying to think what else. I guess that's about it.